of unintended consequences. Do we want, will Trump be better for carried interest? Will Trump be better for qualified small business stock? Like, this is something that's under discussed. Like, who will revoke qualified small business stock in the US? That could be disastrous on many levels. Like, I don't know. All I know is Trump is not a friend of California because he can't get our votes. And so that part worries me. Trump dramatically raised our taxes in California and New York. Everyone talks about how Trump cut taxes. He sure didn't in California or New York. All our taxes went up because we could no longer deduct our state taxes against our federal taxes. My taxes went up, 15% under Trump.
Will the return of SF come back in 2024? AI means SF is again the home of tech. Will that continue?
First of all, this got too dogmatic, this SF versus the rest of the world thing, right? And I mean, there's going to be, 400, taking this back to earlier in the conversation, how many YC companies are there a year? 400, 500?
Yeah, so along those lines.
Half are going to stay. And Gary's going to do this for a decade. That alone will be transformational to SF by, 2028. They're going to stay. Just like in the old days, Stanford kids stayed in Palo Alto. When I started in tech, it was downtown Palo Alto. It wasn't SF, okay? And why? Well, the kids would just go down university. Downtown Palo Alto is literally, you can walk to Stanford. That's where our SaaStr office is now. We gave up our SF office, but we have one in Palo Alto. It is wonderful. You literally walk down. It's so wonderful that the Google campus was built to copy downtown Palo Alto, as was the Facebook campus. They are both built to copy. Well, Google was built to copy Stanford, and Facebook's original campus was built to copy downtown Palo Alto. So and that's going to happen at YC, except they're either going to roll into Hayes Valley or they're going to roll into Mission Bay, and they're going to stay. You're going to stay. You're going to stay. And so SF will never be what it was, but if I were a founder today, it'd be where I was.
I know, listen, I love that, and I agree with you on the dogmatism, but I still love to ask the question. Venture funding, everyone says about the absolute cratering of venture funding. I think in a lot of cases, slightly skewed in terms of the data that they present.
Yeah.
Will venture funding return in some respects? Will it continue to be reduced? How do you predict venture funding in 2024? Will it be easier or harder for founders to raise?
VCs will deploy as much capital as the LPs will give them. Within reason, they will deploy it. If they can go back to market every 18 months and find a reasonable number of deals, that's what we learned in 2021. They'll go back to market every 12 months, every 18 months. What they learned the last year is sometimes you got to go back to market every 3 years or even 4 years for some funds, right? But VCs will find a way, but especially with SPVs and growth funds and opportunity funds, if allowed, they will deploy as much capital as the markets will absorb. So the real question is, the segment of, and you're the closest one, I should interview you. I'll ask you the question, because there are portions of the LP, there are segments of LPs that are actually not that impacted by the lack of liquidity the last 18 months. Okay, a lot of university endowments have sufficient liquidity. Some don't, but some don't care. A lot of family offices don't care. A lot of sovereign wealth funds don't care at all. Like, what are they going to do with the liquidity? They got to reinvest it anyway, right? But there is a subset that needs that got paralyzed, especially the folks that are deep into traditional PE, where they're used to getting that cash back and recycling it, and so it's almost two worlds in the LPs. Folks under stress for capital commitments and under stress for liquidities, and folks that just don't care today.
And then I would add one final constituent, which is just net new LPs to the venture ecosystem.
Net new LPs, yeah.
Which is incredibly significant when I look at, like it or not in terms of China, but Asian LPs more broadly speaking, who've never invested in venture but actually dramatically want to. The amount of family office Asian money is exorbitant and extraordinary. UAE is coming in on force. Europe has thousands of family offices with the most incredible liquidity reserves. They want tech and they want venture. They're a curtain business. They're a machinery business. They know, and they've got a child that says technology is where it's at. There is a universe of new LPs that is entering that I see every single day.
Yeah, no, it's hard. They may be fatiguing a subset of VCs by having gone back to market too often. So I think it's almost you ask, will venture be, it's almost a very quantitative question. I think if there's just enough pool, VCs will raise the fund and they will deploy it. Like and I don't think 2024, it's not going to be worse, but we're not going to see the massive liquidity events maybe we'd hope for another year.